Hi there guys, so I'm back with another vlog, and of course like I said last time, this is a continuation from the previous one I just uploaded, so the relationship vlog. So when it comes to relationships, I can't of course get it squeezed in this one as well, but bear with me guys. I'm gonna try to touch up on those same topics I did last time and add my own little sort of side topics at the same time. But as we all know, like, relationships is a very big deal, you know. Like, since the time we were born, kids and stuff, like boys and girls, we look at each other in a different way, you grow up, you go to school, this person has a girlfriend, that person has a boyfriend, this is that. So it's a biological thing, of course, and that's why it plays such a big role in our lives. And people have early on sort of a image of what their sort of partner would sort of like to be or whatever. So from early on we have a image in our head and we've got preference, and I know that's wild. It does of course change later on in life, but it's definitely set from a young age. Like, whatever type you like at a young age, and it's also influenced by the first person you like as well. So the relationship will sort of have a ground back to your early childhood in a way. And what's also interesting is we tend to like something that we can't get. I know that sounds wild, but that's more of the sense like when you chase someone, someone that you're interested in, and we don't always attain this person, it's a chase and whatnot. And from that small experience, usually in our early lives, and that gives us a anxiety feeling, a bad feeling, not such a bad feeling, but more of like something you didn't achieve, and subconsciously we put this person on a pedestal, and this is something that we now have to obtain in a way. So because we didn't achieve this goal that we had in mind, relationship wise, as a young person, we then build everything around this person's characteristics now. So it's sort of like what you can't have, in a sense. So that's basically how the image is set early on, and what we project out there is what we get at the same time. So from the early childhood and stuff like that, a lot of things are built at that time, the little foundations, the way we think, and later on in life as well, it will somewhat reflect it. But to touch up on the big topics now, for example, marriage. When people get married and they say, like, of course the beginning part of the love part of the phase or whatnot is done, people get laid out and they kick back, and they're sort of letting time pass without putting in the work anymore. And that's the lazy approach, but it's still a natural approach in relationships or whatnot. The more you've been with the person, you're not going to be on your toes 24/7, but what actually sparks the relationships and keeps it going is that hunger you had at the beginning. So you got to have that hunger like non-stop in a way. We see old couples nowadays like carrying flowers, doing small gestures that we think like, oh, we just romanticize it, but there's definitely something deep down in that. The reason why we look at it the way we do is because like that's like in a way mind-blowing. Like, we don't usually expect people to be with each other that long. Like, people around the 90s, 80s years old, 70-year-olds, it sort of gives us that warm feeling like if they could do it, and if love actually lasts this long, then it comforts us. It basically comforts us in a way. So looking at how relationships play out towards the end, the later point in life, it is very sweet and stuff, but if you don't really work for it or build up to that, then you're either going to reach there, but it's going to be all fake, or it will pay off, but it won't actually pay off. This is what you've earned at this stage. But doubling back now, when it comes to talking stages and how people get to know and whatnot, I find it like it's just all luck, to be honest. And you've got to work for it, interest, similarities, whatnot, but at the same time it is all luck, and definitely like timing has to be right. And myself, like I've tried a million talking stages and they haven't worked out, at least to not marriage, So when you talk to someone, now that with my experience, for example, so I'll use me as an example, like I haven't seen it, in a successful way or, paying off anytime soon. So my mindset is like, of course, I don't want to stop, trying to, achieve a relationship from, girl 1, girl 2, girl 3, whatnot, depending on how many girls there are. But like it still gives you that that open space to mess around, because subconsciously I know like this hasn't worked in the past, like why would it work now? See, the mentality is now like, right, so I'll practice with this girl, cool, if she doesn't like me, that's all right, if it doesn't work out, that's all right, but I'll do the same with the second, third, fourth, and before you know it, month in, month out, it's the repetitive cycle. And that's because I've seen it go down the drain too many times, and I'm way too comfortable with that now. So I've heard a few people actually tell me like, you've got to take it, slow, and the less you do it, the better it is. But this whole thing works in two ways. Like if you don't actually go out your way and try, sort of, how can I say it? Achieve a relationship with a girl and settle down and whatnot, then you lose it. If you don't use it, you lose it, type of thing. And as time goes, timing isn't on our side, and we've got to keep moving. Whatever comes, and if it doesn't come, then we learn from it. But depending on the girls that you attract as well, like in my case, I'll refer to me as well. So the girls that I attract right now are somewhat alike, like in my personality sense. So I'm talking to one girl, and she's giving me that attention, she's giving me that little reply that I'm liking,